Hello, 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 beautiful people. How are you today? Today is another episode of Relax Raunchy Relationship Podcast with me, Ingrid Galloway, accompanied by my special guest, Amanda Ortega Aravena. I love your name. It's so exciting.
Oh, thank you, Ingrid. Lovely to be
Amanda
here.
is the founder of Unique Team Training. She established this in 2018. And after enjoying a long career training and working in the not-for-profit sector, Amanda's goal is to change the lives of millions of people through high-quality training. Love that. She believes that training can and should be fun. Love that even more. And is on a mission to shake up the training world so that people actually want to come along to training. Oh my God, we need more Amanda in this world. Amanda specializes in training organizations in this behavioral profiling to create more cohesive teams and address the issue of team conflict and poor retention. Welcome, Amanda. I can't wait to learn more from you.
Thank you, Ingrid. And likewise, I'm so excited to talk to you today. So, for everybody here that doesn't know Ingrid, Ingrid Galloway is the founder, relationship coach, and chief relaxation officer of Kayangan, which means heaven. I love that. That's beautiful. She's been a relationship coach for 12 years and a spa therapist for 22 years. She practices from Kayangan in Sydney and from her clients' homes and offices, even hotel rooms, online and retreat locations. Her work has always focused on stress, relaxation, and relationships, and always ready to look after loving and not so loving couples and broken-hearted, lonely singles. I love that. She does one-to-one coaching sessions, women's circles, group online couples massage lessons, virtual retreats, and in-person retreats. Wow, Ingrid, welcome. How much you have done and do.
Oh, I know. I'm such a creative person. I always come up with new things. I can't help myself.
I love it. It's amazing.
So, Amanda, what is your why? My first question. Why you do what you do? And also, I'm intrigued to find out why you like this system, this profiling system particularly.
Yeah, cool. Great question. So I guess I do what I do because I want training to have an impact on people's lives and to inspire them. So historically, training has been, considered a waste of time, or the content has been boring. People don't want to come along to it.
Yeah.
So I want to show the world that it can and should be fun and productive. And when it is, it actually inspires people instead of just bores them to tears. And I guess my love of DISC behavioral profiling, it's such a great system. It helps us to understand each other in a really, really simple way in looking at behavioral profiling, because there's a lot of those tools out there and some of them can be quite complicated. But DISC, I love it. There's 4 colors. People can remember it. And yeah, I think it really helps us in our day-to-day life.
Right. So it's very visual because it color related.
That's exactly right. People always remember the colors. And when I say I do DISC, they say, is that the one with the colors? So people always remember that. And yeah, I've seen some really great transformation from people learning about DISC and implementing it in their lives.
Yes. I mean, I was educated in Indonesia, and I wish that your aura, Amanda was my teacher back then, with such great energy and also great system, because previously, I grew up with, being bombarded with information. And as students, we just discuss with each other, like, what are we learning this for? Like, is it going to be useful for our future? Like, why are we learning this? No, we just force fed. You must memorize this. And how, we had a lot of tests, a lot of exams, every week there's test. It just brought upon stress, a lot of stress on us students growing up.
That's exactly what happens. The way that, people are educated is by somebody talking at them and them needing to remember. And that's not a great way to learn. So yeah, I'm on a mission to shake that up. But Ingrid, I would love to know why it is that you do what you do, because you have a very, very fascinating history. So tell me, what makes you want to work with couples and broken-hearted singles?
Yes, because I came to Australia. I was born in Indonesia, born and raised there, and then came to Australia by the age of 21. So I escaped Indonesia, so to speak, to escape from my mother and her preconditioning, and chose to get married at the tender age of 21. So not a very good reason to get married, people, but I did love my first husband back then. And then, we were married for 10 years. Unfortunately, it was an abusive relationship. So I left after 3 attempts. And during my self-healing journey, I went to see a couple of therapists. I went to self-development seminars, and I went back to college to study counseling and life coaching. And straight away, I knew that I would be a coach instead of a counselor, and my niche would be in relationship. Because, I feel passionate and compassionate to others in the similar sort of predicament. And because of that, painful 10-year period, it was painful at the time, but learning from that, it was actually gold. Like, I didn't get that lesson about relationship in high school. I wish they teach that in high school. No, they didn't, right? So,
me too.
mental health, I gained all the juicy stuff such as anxiety, such as depression. I didn't learn that in high school. I wish they teach that in high school. No, they didn't. And so,
Absolutely.
So then if I can help, support, inspire people in a similar sort of boat, then very inspiring and rewarding for me. So that's my why.
I love that, Ingrid. And, thank you for sharing your journey about your abusive relationship. That's a difficult thing to talk about. But I love that you're using your own experience to help inspire other people. And relationships are all around us, whether we are single or we are part of a couple, we're always having relationships. And
absolutely. And relationship to the self as well is important.
That's exactly right. And I'm also really curious. So you mentioned that you decided you were going to be a coach and not a counselor. I love that, because I much prefer coaching than counseling. So can you tell me why you decided to be a coach, and maybe what the difference is between coaches and counselors?
Certainly. Typically, I mean, the easiest way for me to explain the difference is counseling focus on the now and the past, and coaching focus on the now and the future. So I understand the importance to unpack your bags. So counseling is perfect for trauma, things like that. So I understand that everyone comes with the baggage into a relationship or to a workplace, for example, and it affects our day-to-day behavior and how we relate to other people. So it's important to kind of unpack that. However, I naturally, because of my own energy, I tune in. My energy is lighter than darker. If we talk about color, I'm not sure if some people understand about energetically speaking. So counseling is more on the darker side, coaching is more on the lighter side. I connect with who I am. So I connect really more on the coaching side, and I like to unpack the bags from the past, however, not staying there for too long, focus on the moment, and then straight away move people to the future. Okay, what are your goals? What would you like to achieve? And let's do that together with the third party support, such as myself.
I love that. That is just absolutely gorgeous. Thank you.
My pleasure. Now, I'm always intrigued to learn from my guests. Your expertise, I've never had anyone like you before. Can you share with us 3 tips on how to train your team at work to be, to have more fun and more engagement? Because as you said before, training previously known as the boring stuff.
That's exactly right. And I think in addition to people labeling it as the boring stuff, they also, come to a training session and they're quite nervous because they don't know what the trainer is going to say or do. And nobody wants to be made a fool of in front of their colleagues. So I guess my first tip is make the candidates feel really comfortable from the beginning and included, show them that, you're here to learn from them as much as they're here to learn from you, and that there's no stupid questions, responses, whatever. We're all just here to learn and grow. So that's my first tip. My second tip is catering to the different learning styles. And we touched on this at the beginning when you were talking about the school system and how they do tend to just talk at the students, and the students write it down and try to remember for the tests. Yeah. And very, very few people actually learn that way. Most people learn by actually doing a task, or they'll learn from visual aids. So I incorporate a lot of those things into my training, a lot of activities that make it fun, but at the same time, everybody's learning. They're not just listening. And then that kind of leads into my final point, which is lots and lots of fun activities. And when I first started out and I'd written a program, and the person who I wrote the program for said, no, that's not professional. There's too many fun activities in there. And I was like, no, it doesn't have to be boring to be professional. And so that's how I just pride myself on making it a fun session so people still learn, but hey, it's fun as well.
Yes, it's such a great point of difference that you have. Yes,
thank you.
Because learning is well known to be the boring stuff, and it doesn't have to be.
No, not at all. And I would love your tips on relationships. This is really cool.
Definitely. Well, today, because I give different tips different week, today I would like to focus on the singles. However, couples can, look into this one as well, but it's about watching out for the red flags. Yeah. So I am a believer in love. I want to encourage others if you have been burned in the past. Yeah. But you have this burning flame or longing in your heart to have a new partner, then please don't give up. Yeah. You may have not yet found the right person for you. If you are content being single forever, then yay, you go, girl, that's all right, But if you don't feel content, don't give up. In saying that, it is important to recognize the popular red flags in a potential love partner when you're ready to put yourself back in the meat market.
I love that.
Well, tip number one, stonewalling, which is a refusal to communicate or cooperate. I wonder how many students you have that does this to you. In the training world so far, Amanda.
I've had a few.
Stonewalling. Yes. Body language may indicate or reinforce this by avoiding contact. They avoid contact. They avoid engagement with the other party. Right? So they tend to deflect certain conversation, giving vague responses, refusing to answer questions, or keep responding to questions with additional questions, which can be very confusing. Yes. They want to get their way in the situation and refuses to communicate with you until you agree with them. I guess this is kind of like a point of controlling. So they will not engage with you until you agree with them, right? Because they need to be right. How can you connect deeply with someone like this? Question mark. Right. So that's red flag number one, stonewalling. Red flag number two, gaslighting. Now, this is a form of psychological abuse where a person or group makes someone question their sanity, perception of reality, or memories. People experiencing gaslighting often feel confused, anxious, unable to trust themselves. They may deny a lot or pretending to forget events or how they occurred. They're in denial, having said or done something or accused someone of making things up. So if you are the partner of a person gaslighting you may question yourself, am I going mad? My partner keeps telling me that my thoughts and my feelings are not real.
Yes.
Now, how frustrating will that be?
Yes.
Very frustrating. And then red flags number 3 is narcissistic. Yeah, so this one is a very juicy one.
Juicy one.
I know, right? They come in 2 forms. So the first one is malignant narcissistic people. These kind of people has zero empathy. They're aggressive. They threaten leaving. There's no self-reflective capacity, right? Whereby normal people, you know, when we often ask ourselves, will my words and action affect other people?
Definitely.
Yeah. Now, narcissistic people don't have that capacity.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the second kind is the covert narcissistic.
Right.
So these are the type of people who always be the victim, blame everyone else, don't take responsibility, feeling contempt for other people's successes, and angry when confronted. So they're never happy. Now, can you imagine how much fun, we've been talking about fun in learning, how much fun will that kind of person be in a relationship? You know,
Exhausting.
when everything is all about them, like I feel drained just thinking about it.
Me too.
Yeah.
And what wonderful tips you've given around red flags. And, you know, you shared at the beginning about being in an abusive marriage, your first marriage. I've also been in an abusive relationship many years ago. And I think that these red flags are important to talk about. And I mean, this is a topic for another day. We could talk about domestic violence and things like that forever. But those are really, really important things for people to watch out for, because they don't, or they make excuses and then end up in an even bigger problem. Yeah.
And for some people as well, they have these patterns of keep attracting the same kind of people into their life because they haven't yet learned from the past lessons. So that's why I'm sharing this kind of tips so they can learn, you know, what are the main red flags that you really, really need to watch out for.
Yeah, I love that. That's really important to share, Ingrid. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, people, we come to the fun part of the podcast. Not that we haven't been having fun so far. Amanda's true and false statement. Let's guess that. Which one is true? Which one is false? Now, she said, my first ever overseas trip I did alone because 2 women at a cafe asked me to. Number 2, I am trained in hypnotherapy. So people, guess with me, which one is it? I have a feeling because I feel that you're quite wild inside.
You might be right, Ingrid.
Number 1 is true. You are trained in hypnotherapy, possibly, but I feel that number 1 is correct.
You would be correct. Number 1 is definitely correct. Do you want to hear the story behind it quickly?
Of course.
So I was following a page on Facebook back in 2012, and I followed these 2 women. They did women's retreats and all sorts of things. And I went to meet up with them to have a coffee one day. I'd never met them before. And they told me about a retreat that they were running in Bali. I think it might have been like a month later. And they said, we've got this idea. Why don't you come to Bali and help us on the retreat? And, you know, we can't pay you, but you can come to the retreat for free. And I was like, okay. So I used my savings, booked my ticket, got a passport, did all that, hopped on a plane and went to Bali. And it was the very first time I'd ever left the country. And then I met up with these women and helped on this retreat. And it was just phenomenal. And I'm such a big believer in when the universe presents opportunities to us to go with it, because you don't know which amazing place it's leading to. So That's my,
Absolutely. And Bali, well, I love retreat, as you know, and Bali,
yes.
oh my God, it's like my second home. Love
Oh,
Bali.
it
How
was,
blessed were you?
I was so blessed. It was just gorgeous. And, you know, when I think about Bali, I think about the temples and the locals and all of those. That's where I love spending my time in Bali, not so much at the bars and things like that, but immersing myself in the culture. So it was beautiful. And I believe you have some true and false for us as well.
Yeah.
So let me share what Ingrid's are and let's guess which one is true. So Ingrid's first, true or false. Ingrid's clients' friends thought that she had just had sex because she looked like she was glowing. That's number one. Number two, Ingrid's sister's friends thought that she had just had sex because she was glowing. So which one do we think? Is it her client's friends or her sister's friends that thought that she had just had sex? And I want to know whether you did or you didn't. So I'm going to go with number two. Your sister's friends thought that.
Okay. You would be incorrect.
Correct. No. So your client's friend.
Because I am the only child, so I don't have a sister.
There we go. I love that. So your client's friend. So tell me the story, Ingrid.
Definitely. So my new client, she came here to, this is my treatment room. She came here to experience my facial and, you know, one day when you know, we're not in lockdown anymore, you can come and experience my facial. It's not just slapping creams onto your skin. It's quite an experiential journey. So I tap into, you know, the skin health and physical and mental well-being as well. So after that, she felt so relaxed and was like, oh, wow, this is so good. And then she went away the next day, actually meeting her friends, and her friends said, oh, wow. And, you know, her name, you know, whatever her name is, you know, it's confidential.
Of course.
Yeah. It's like, wow, what, you know, you look so glowing. What did you do? Did you just have sex? Oh, no. I just received a facial from Ingrid. That's all.
I love that. Wow. You're making people
but she said, you know, if I can get sex, it's actually even better. But no, I didn't.
Hey, but the facial, I'm sure, comes in a very close second. That's an incredible story. I love that. And I can't wait till we're out of lockdown because I will be over for facials and massages and food and all sorts of things that we were going to do before lockdown.
That will be great. Can't wait for that moment to happen.
Me too.
All right. So Amanda, last question. What do you do to either relax or add raunchiness into your relationship?
Oh, well, I'm going to actually talk about relaxation because I've got to keep my raunchy secrets to myself. So to relax, oh my gosh, I spend so much time in the bathtub. I am always having baths and I make it like an event. It's not just a bath. It's like a full-on event. There's candles and oils and all sorts of beautiful things going on. And I just lay there and I read. I love to read. I read at least one book a week. I love to read. So that's how I relax. Baths that are like an event with a really great book.
Awesome. Love that. Yes. I love bath myself. It's great to balance your sacral chakra. Yeah.
Exactly, isn't it? And that's my favorite chakra. So there you go.
Wonderful. It's very good for creativity and sensuality. That
it
chakra.
Is very much so. Yes.
Nice. All right, beautiful people, we come to the end of the podcast and I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did.
Me
I had
too.
a lot of fun with Amanda. And if you like, you can like and subscribe this podcast on YouTube, Ingrid Galloway. And Amanda, if people would like to engage with your training or ask more questions, how can they find out about you?
Probably the best way is the website. So it's uniqueteamtraining.com.au and they can connect with me, email, phone, social media, all that way.
Wonderful. We definitely include the link on the caption, on the post. And people, if you would like to ask more about relationship questions or relaxation question, you can connect with me, have a half an hour free chat with me. Just go to my website, www.kayangan.com.au. Well, actually, it's just right over there.
I'll just move out of the way.
You can't miss that. All right. So that's the spelling of it, knowing how difficult it is to pronounce my business name. I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Amanda, for coming. And next week, people, we will have another beautiful and fun podcast, a beautiful guest and fun podcast. So looking forward to see you then. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Ingrid. I had a great time. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.